Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another political episode. We are back again today, and we got great news when it comes to, of course, the Greenland story. And we gotta talk about Greenland, because Greenland is becoming more and more of a reality every day. Because, of course, Donald Trump Jr., he went to Greenland. He got to talk to, of course, the officials in Greenland. And now the Greenland Prime Minister, he's coming out and he's saying, yeah, we're ready to talk to Trump. Now, does this mean that, is he ready to join the United States? I don't know. I mean, what it's just saying Greenland's Prime Minister, Greenland's official leader, is coming out to talk to Trump. Okay? And there's also another party that needs to get involved, and that is also the Danes, okay? The Danish in Denmark. So when it comes to, we get the Greenlandic peoples on our side, we get the Greenlandic leader on our side. It looks like, of course, CNN's article is saying Greenland's leader says he's ready to talk to Trump. We can go ahead and take a little look about that. Greenland Prime Minister Mute Egdede said on Friday he was ready to speak with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, who has said he wants control over the Arctic island and urged respect for the island's independence aspirations. Trump, who takes office on January 2nd, has described U.S. control of Greenland, a semi-autonomous Danish territory, as an absolute necessity. He did not dismiss the potential use of military or economic means, including tariffs against Denmark. Of course, they're going to add that there. But, of course, the tariffs are not going to be, of course, mandatory, in other words. They're not going to be like... there has to be a percentage of a chance of those tariffs are going to work. Tariffs are usually used as diplomatic leverage, and this is how it's worked every single time. So what? We're going to demand Denmark to pay reparation. So we have Canada, right? We forced Canada. When we said, hey, look, Trudeau, you've been scamming us, and it's time for you to pay us back. Oh, great. Okay, yeah, Trudeau, pay us back. And what does Justin Trudeau do the next day? He hops on a plane and flies as fast as he can to Mar-a-Lago to beg President Trump, please don't tariff us. We'll. And he goes and kisses the ring. And guess what? Well, of course, those tariff threats aren't going away, because just because Trudeau says, oh, Donald Trump will do it, doesn't mean that he has to convince his liberal parliament to also bend the knee also. And the chances of that is happening. Trudeau has resigned, and the likely prime minister is a man named Pierre Poilievre, and he is the conservative leader, and he is the presumptive, if you will, the presumptive next prime minister. We don't necessarily know. There will be an election on that said prime minister will be, because it's not just Canada has a multi-party system. Unlike the United States, they have many different liberal parties, many different conservative parties, but the Conservative Party is basically the second biggest party and is the most likely to win overall the said election. So that's pretty much the theory there. So looking at the tariffs and the threats on that, it's just silly, because we've done the same thing with Mexico. Mexico's president, female president, kept blanking her name. She was like, no, we're not bending the knee to Trump. We're going to sanction Trump. We're going to tariff Trump too. And what does she do? She could have tariffed us, absolutely, but she decided not to. And not only that, but she decided to kiss the ring, because she did the math, and it's like, okay, this isn't going to work out for us. This is going to actually hurt Mexico more. So every single country has kissed the ring of Donald Trump, and it's more likely that Denmark will also. However, Trump is also having a new opposition. He has opposition, of course. Denmark is open to this idea, but Denmark is being persuaded by our favorite friends from Europe, the European establishment. The European establishment, they're saying, no, don't don't give in to Trump. Don't give in to MAGA. So, of course, let's see. I thought I saw an article somewhere about NATO and the European Union. So NATO and Greenland. I don't think it's NATO, but I want to know what European Union or Europe says. Here we go. Trump's words on Greenland and borders ring alarms in Europe, but officials have a measured response. So they're coming out against Trump. Why are they coming out against Trump? Well, it's said to be that Greenland has always been a part of Europe. Not only that, it's a part of the European Union. In short, Denmark is a part of that European Union, and since Greenland is a territory of the European Union, the theory on that is that Greenland is a part of the European Union, right? Greenland is a part of that also. So the European Union, the EU, not a country, but political influence in, of course, North America, technically. They're afraid of losing that to Trump. And obviously, they're pretty upset that Trump won this election. Because, of course, Trump doesn't want to kiss the ring of EU. He doesn't want to kiss the ring of NATO. He doesn't want to pander to the fake Ukraine war that NATO helped initiate. I'm not saying Russia's totally not innocent of this, but stop saying that NATO had nothing to do about it, about starting this conflict. They could have absolutely said, hey, look, Russia, let's sit down and let's talk. Let's compromise. We need more compromises. We need more talk. No more emotion. So enough with this emotion. Emotion does nothing. It absolutely does nothing. It's a waste of time, and it's definitely puts people at risk of world conflict. Europe wants to go, oh, we don't want world conflict. Let's pray that nuclear war. Well, then we gotta talk more, okay? Talk, communicate, act like human beings, and communicate with the other side, okay? So obviously, we got European establishment, don't like them at all. We also got, and they want to keep Greenland Danish, and that's the other thing we got to recognize, okay? Trump is going against different parties. And I'm not talking about political parties, well, technically political parties, but international parties, international factions. We got the Greenlandic faction, which seems like it's going to fold in favor to Donald Trump. You're seeing the Greenlandic Prime Minister. He's saying he's ready to talk. He's ready to probably express his concerns. And he's coming out and saying that meeting with Donald Trump Jr. actually did very well. I'm looking at this. Trump Sr. When do we ever call Trump Sr.? Like Donald Trump Sr. Well, we will call him Donald Trump Sr. if Donald Trump Jr. becomes president. That's what, like we do with George H.W. Bush. But I'm getting distracted once again. But yes, you got the Greenlandic Party. You got the Danish Party, which is not really committed into getting rid of Greenland. I mean, really. Greenland has done nothing for them. I mean, it has served as strategic defense, but back then, it was necessary, right? Greenland has been a historic importance for Denmark because back then, Denmark had lots and lots of enemies from Sweden. They were opponents, like they had Britain against them. That was, of course, important of fighting against the British, fighting against the Swedes. The Swedes have been historically a arch enemy of Denmark. And although Sweden had controlled Greenland for a little bit after they created what was called the Kalmar Union, but that union basically collapsed within a couple years. But of course, Sweden and Denmark had a lot of rivalry over there. Denmark had a lot of folks, okay? They also had the Spanish against them. They had, the Dutch. Didn't like the Dutch. They were in big competition with the Dutch, especially in Africa and Asia. So those trade routes. So I'm a little history expert, if you can tell. So then again, Greenland was absolutely necessary back in historical times. But now, all the countries that formerly hated Denmark and went to war with Denmark on a regular basis are now Denmark's best friends. They're the ones that are actually the former opponents of Denmark that actually wanted to take Greenland away from Denmark are now the countries that want Denmark to keep Greenland. Isn't that weird? You got France, you got Britain, you got Sweden. Don't give it to Trump! No, don't give it to Trump! Keep it as a colony, colonization. Okay. I mean, it's kind of interesting how that goes, and it's just silly, right? So, you got Denmark and you got the European establishment, and that's the real foe we're going against, the European establishment. Who's this going to benefit more? This doesn't benefit Denmark at all. Keeping Greenland Greenland under Danish control doesn't benefit Denmark. I mean, what does Greenland do anyway? Greenland's just an island. I mean, it's good for resources, I guess. But, I mean, we're not taking over Greenland because of resources. We're mainly taking over for strategic defense, because unlike Denmark, we have opponents right by us. Russia. Oh, what? Russia's in Europe. Yeah, Russia right here by the Bering Sea. Right here. Russia is sending lots of ships into those Canadian islands, across the Canadian coast, across the Alaskan coasts. And, of course, we have drones coming out in the middle of the ocean, flying around the country. Our government doesn't even know what what these drones and where they come from. We have zero idea where they come from. So, it's alarming events such as this that explains, okay, which scenario would Greenland play a best role in? Would it play a role for Denmark, which is solidified, surrounded, landlocked by allies? Norway, Sweden, the UK, Netherlands, Germany, Poland, all these allies. Or the United States, which isn't really which its allies in Europe, very far away. Russia, it's probably the closest country. Russia's biggest competitor right here. I mean, technically, you can't say it's the closest country that Russia's biggest opponent that it's the closest to, because technically Ukraine is bordered with Russia, and so is Georgia. But you got Russia, you got the Bering Sea, you got two superpowers, okay? And you also got Canada. This would also benefit Canada also. Oh, why can't we give Greenland to Canada? Well, it can definitely happen. But you really think Canada is in good shape to buy Greenland right now? Their government is imploding right now. And it seems... Let's take a look at the Greenlandic people situation. Greenland's prime minister is coming out, and he's open to it. Why do you think he's open to it? Maybe he is a left-winger, okay? He is a left-wing, because in Greenland, there are no right-wing political parties. In case you guys didn't know, there are no right-wing political parties, and that's why I'm so against Greenland becoming a state. It's indefinitely going to become a Democrat stronghold, because everyone there is woke. I mean, let's keep in mind, it's not like Cuba, where everyone's going to become right-wing when they come into the United States, these Cubans, because their regime was so bad. They're technically a democracy, but let's keep in mind, the media, Greenlandic media, the government's so-called friendly. They're not brutal. They are suppressive when it comes to freedom of speech. But then again, they didn't get to taste American freedom yet. They haven't tasted American democracy yet. And I'm sure they would want to, but that left-wing ideology is still going to remain. It might dial down in places where, okay, democratic socialism, which exists in Greenland, will no longer be advocated in the boundaries of Greenland. It actually will be American democracy that will be advocated to. But just keep in mind, yeah, it's just idealistic. the expectation there. So Greenland's prime minister, a socialist-like prime minister, comes out and he's saying, yeah, we want to get away from Denmark because Denmark is kind of hounding on us when it comes to our free speech and our rights. And they know that the United States, and no matter how much the left and the Democratic Party likes to boo-hoo on and cry about, oh, you're colonizing a territory of people of color! Okay, yeah. No matter how much they boo-hoo on and cry about it, guess what? They will be nowhere near as oppressed as they are right now. Greenland has been a territory of Denmark for over 400 years. 400 years. I've explained how the military warfare that existed between Denmark and its opponents, including Britain, the Netherlands, and Sweden, it doesn't serve a purpose anymore because those former opponents are now allies, strong, dependent allies of Denmark. Politics changes like it always does. Political and foreign relations, they change all the time. Denmark is basically surrounded by allies other than Russia and Leningrad, but you know what? It's not like the Russians are going to invade Denmark. You think that's crazy. Therefore, Greenland serves no purpose. There's no enemies in here. There's no enemies in there. Russia's too far away to even impact Greenland. Although, actually, I want to clarify that Greenland from the United States would counter a Russian, let's just say a Russian, I don't know. I can't say attack because it's very unlikely, but you know. Russia likes to dominate its ship routes, but we can retaliate against those Russian dominations of the Arctic Sea with Greenland. And Denmark is not in competition with Russia. It's just ridiculous. Over the Arctic Sea, they're neutral from that. I mean, they're anti-Russia, but they're not involved. So, obviously, Greenland is very impactful when it comes to that. So we've explained the scenarios here, the four political factions, actually, if you include us, the United States. You got Trump, the United States, you got Greenland, you got Denmark, and you got the EU. The most stubborn out of all of them is the EU. They're the biggest threat because Denmark can care less. They don't need Greenland, and Greenland actually doesn't want to be a part of Denmark anyway. Now, it doesn't look like it's going to be like this yet, but Greenland might advocate and say, hey, look, Trump, we just want to be independent. But here's the thing, though. How can you be independent with 53,000 people? That's going to be difficult. With all that land and 53,000 people, it's better for you guys to be a territory and be watched over. What if you get invaded? You are going to rely on 53,000 people to defend your country? No way. And then again, Greenland can't really be invaded, but then again, scenario. You kind of need a good economy and all that stuff. So the scenario for Greenland being a country is very unrealistic. Seeing with the population, its best outcome for them is joining the United States, where they would have more personal freedom. The right to bear arms. In Greenland, you aren't allowed to have a gun. Or have very little access to a gun. It's super, 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 super hard to get a gun in Europe altogether. But Denmark, they're have staunch control over their guns. But when it comes to that, so lots of benefits. It's likely that. Yeah, you know what? The way it seems the scenario is becoming more likely, and I can't necessarily say that Greenland's going to be in our hands soon, but I can definitely see Greenland becoming a territory of the United States. Do I want it to become a state? And I make it clear, no. Why? First off, as a Republican conservative, you don't want these territories to become states. As a Republican conservative, I would rather say, hey, be your independent country, or remain as a territory. Because the reason why Democrats want these territories to become states is because they want their electoral votes. If all these territories become states, they're all going to vote Democrat. They have Democrat/progressive governors. They're indefinite Democrat strongholds, and that would obviously gridlock the Electoral College in their favor. So politically, yeah, we don't want Greenland and all those territories to be the U.S. Said states and be a part of that college. But then again, we're not really, and resources, I mean, we depend on these territories for resources. We preferably like to keep you, but then again, idealistically, or do you expect to have these territories forever? It's kind of controversial, but what do you guys think in regards to our analysis? Will Trump, and I've asked this question before, no one really has responded to my question, but I'm asking it again, will Trump buy Greenland? Now, there's a long way to go. Trump's not even president yet, and the fact that we're making these moves, and Trump's not even president yet, is an overwhelming benefits to buy Greenland. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below, and as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.